Good evening and welcome to GWI's Customer Alert, a program produced by the Guyana Water Utility to bring you up to date on all the services we are providing to the nation. Of course, GWI is celebrating 15 years since its existence, and that has been since the merger of the Guyana Water Authority and the Guyana Sewerage and Water Commission. And as such, we will be having a month of activities that we will be celebrating. And today, in our program, we will be focusing on our Human Resources Department as well as our SPEM department, which is the Strategic Planning Evaluation and Monitoring Unit. And as such, we have the representatives, or the heads rather, from those two departments here on our program today. Sitting right beside me to my immediate right is Miss Gail Doris, who is the Executive Director of Human Resources Management and Development. Good night to you, Miss Doris, and welcome to the program.
Good night, and thank you.
And sitting beside her is Mr. Lance Mars, the head of the SPEM unit. Good evening, Mr. Mars.
Oh, good evening, Leon.
It's so good to have you on the program, and it's nice to be, highlighting what we're doing on the indoors. I mean, people know that we're all about water and that we provide a service of sanitation and the sewer system as well as water, but what's happening on the inside? So today we're going to be highlighting that on our program. So I'll start off with you, Miss Doris. Could you tell us, as the Director of Human Resources, what in your mind is the role of a human resource department in today's world?
Okay. As you would have known, Liana, human resources has moved a far way from where it was, just personal management, to where it is today as human resources. Human resources management covers a whole range of activities, much more than just hiring and firing and welfare and salaries and so forth. But today's world, what we're looking at, how we're looking at human resources, is to have bridge the relationship between employer and employee, moving them to focus towards strategically achieving the organization's goals. And that's where we're working on. We have to be an agent of change within the organization. So it's the human resources department that should lead the change. And that's why we should be a part of the strategic meetings and plans and so forth.
Exactly, and I know that if any employees have any concerns, it's straight to the Human Resource Department.
Straight to the Human Resources Department that they come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that said, Mr. Mars, I'll head straight over to you. My question for you is, what is your department's role in GWI? It's a relatively new department, and of course, the name itself would speak a lot, but could you expound a little more?
Well, Liana, I'd like to start by saying that for the 15th anniversary, we're really looking back over the years of existence. But with the Strategic Planning Unit, we're actually going to be looking forward. And over the next 5 years, we expect to have a plan that will chart the course for the cooperation. Now, there's a saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Well, for us at GWI, we want to know where we're going, and the strategic plan will give us the roadmap to get there. So essentially, we've set up a department that is responsible for planning activities for the cooperation and charting the course that we will get to our objective. We have an objective to provide clean, safe, and affordable water. So every department is charged with that responsibility. And as Gail mentioned, even human resources will have a role to play in strategic planning.
Okay. And you mentioned that our objective is to provide safe, affordable, adequate water. That is also a part of our mission statement. So with that said, I'd like to ask you, how do you assess the overall effectiveness of GWI's mission statement?
Good. We've had an opportunity to look back over the years to see what the cooperation has achieved, and I dare say it's with mixed success. But going forward, we have some strategic plans that will take us to the point where in each region, in each community, we will be providing water and sewage services based on the needs expressed. We have developed a process of ensuring that we can look at the stage where we are in terms of our strategies and in terms of our analysis of the delivery of our services, And then we decide where we are going. We decide that we're going there in tandem with the community. And we do outreaches to the community, as you know, even in terms of your role for public relations, to hear from the members of the community what it is they want in terms of level of service, the quality of water, and so forth, and build that into a plan which can ensure delivery.
Okay, so with all this being done, of course, we need the human resource to get it all done. So that brings me back to you, Ms. Doris. How do you manage employee performance?
Okay, we have presently we're moving away from just the job descriptions, and we're moving into job functions. You know, the job descriptions give you a whole range
A whole list.
of
Yeah.
right of activities, but those activities are not task related. So with the job functions, we are going to the task related duties.
Okay.
So with that, we'd be able to assess a person's, an employee's performance over a 3 months period, over a year's period. Okay? Because you go back to the job description, and let's say for the cleaner, you know she has to dust this table every day. So if at the end of the week the table is dusty, you know she hasn't been doing her duties.
Right.
It's wiping the walls. Similarly, in an engineer, he has specific tasks to do within specific times to accomplish certain goals. And if those tasks are not done, then you assess him based on what he would have completed, what he would not complete, would not have completed, and the period he would have taken. Because sometimes the jobs they have their time limited,
Yeah, a time span.
and they have a certain time span within which you get certain things completed. Take for instance in HR, we have a particular time to get all payroll information changes done so we can meet our payday. If we don't have that, then we have a late payday because we have to liaise with the finance department to send those things. And it's things like allowances, the overtime, the time sheets and all of that they have to come to the HR department within a certain time. And then within a certain time, we have to complete all those adjustments to get it to the finance department.
Right.
So you see, they run in tandem, and
Yeah.
if they're not done,
Oh,
then
wow.
things go late.
That's a big role.
Exactly, that's how you can assess performance.
And that's monthly as well. So that brings me to my next question for you, Ms. Doris. Do you have different types of appraisal systems that we use within GWI?
Yes, we have different types. We have appraisal systems for the executive directors at that level,
Okay.
for managerial, supervisory levels, and for the junior staff. So you assess each person differently because you can't use the same performance appraisal to assess everyone.
Right, right.
So we have different ones that we use.
Okay. Nice. Sounds good. And I mean, as much as, the Human Resource Department is working along with strategic planning, you're also working with finance.
But
So it's
the
all
departments,
interlinked. Yes.
all the departments, the operations, the customer services,
We all
procurement.
depend on one another.
Right.
Okay, so Mr. Mars, a very good strategy might prove wrong if it's not executed well. How do you monitor the execution process within your department?
We look to the strategic plan as a plan as to where we want to go. And we are going to be monitoring and evaluating our performance over time to see how much on target we are. And keying off of what Gail said, we will look at HR as one component of that. We've set up what are known as key performance indicators, which tells the HR department the specific roles and responsibilities that have to be performed to make sure that the cooperation achieves its overall objective. And that goes for every department at GWI. So if you take finance, we are looking at the liquidity of the cooperation, we're looking at the amount of revenue we're getting in versus expenses. If you take water quality, we're looking at the quality of the water that we produce in relation to what the customers desire and the international standards that we must adhere to. If you look at water production, we're looking at the efficiencies of the wells. If you're looking at sanitation, we're looking at the kind of wastewater disposal systems that we have, and even to the extent of planning for the expansion of these services. So in a nutshell, we monitor what is going to happen, we evaluate what is happening, and then we apply corrective measures to make sure that we stay on track.
So I figure that each department must have a goal or a plan that they're working towards in which you can assess them?
Yes, of course, and those are considered segmented or individualized plans per department, and then they're taken as a whole in terms of what the cooperation is expected to achieve.
Okay, sounds good. So, Miss Doris, I know that persons are watching, they see that you're the human resources director, and you know, persons, you know, who might have done something in engineering or something water quality related. We have so many departments. They might be wondering, you know, about vacancies, and if I apply to GWI and I get a call, what are some of the do's and don'ts? Do you have any tips for persons who might be watching in an interview process?
Okay. Persons who would have applied for a position at GWI or any place, as a matter of fact, you're going for an interview. There are certain things you must know. If you apply to this company, you must know something about the company that you want to go to. So do some research on the company, get some background information so you come prepared with that. You must know something about the job that you would have applied for, okay? You don't just apply for the job and don't know anything. So research the job, get into the company, find out about the job, what it entails, find out if you have the competencies for the particular job that you're applying for. Because you may apply for the position because you like the name of the position, but you're not competent. You don't have the competence to carry the functions, right? So those are some of the things that you do. Some of the things you don't do is don't give, let's say, for want of a better word, a fictitious resume.
Okay.
Give a pure, true, honest resume. I can give you an instance where we were doing an interview for a particular position, and the person who had applied stated that they can speak, they were teaching Spanish and can speak Spanish. So they came, not realizing that we had a person who was fluent in Spanish on the panel. So after a while, that person started asking questions in Spanish, and he was lost. Didn't know where to go, how to begin, and all of that.
That must have been embarrassing.
It was for him. So you don't state things on your CV that you don't have.
Right.
Or if you had a one course, don't say, well, you know, I know this thing. Leave it out.
Because I feel that sometimes people, you know, might say, I have a skill in this and I don't necessarily need a certificate, right? So, but you can be quizzed or tested if you have that competence.
Exactly. Once it's stated on your CV, you can be questioned about it.
Right.
Okay? So, persons should be careful in what they're stating on their CVs.
Is there anything you'd like to add there, Mr.
Yes,
Morris?
actually to the issue of developing new skills in terms of our workforce, and one of the concerns we have for the strategic plan is that over the years, GWI has lost a lot of the skilled workers, and the workers who are there do not practice many of the skills that are necessary for us in terms of our objectives. So we have a plan to reverse that, where we're going to be investing heavily in training, both locally and overseas, and to try to encourage our employees to get to the point where we feel that we can perform most of the tasks. Take, for example, drilling wells. That seemed to be a skill that was lost over the years. We need to bring that back, because if we are doing some of these activities, then we can control more the quality and the perhaps efficiencies.
If we outsource.
If we outsource, then it's more trying to manage an external process, and that doesn't augur well. So yes, with persons who are hired or persons who are already on staff, to encourage them to have the skills, the necessary skills that we need, would be a very good thing for the cooperation.
And you just mentioned that actually a team of 5-member team along with 2 contractors just recently went to Oklahoma, you know, to undergo a drilling techniques. So I believe that we're moving in the right direction.
Moving in the right direction.
Yes.
To have skills and capacity in-house even as we outsource. So, Ms. Doris, back to you. What are some of the ways in which employees are disciplined? Because I know that you're talking about the do's and the don'ts in the interview process, but after that process, you know, they're hired. What are some of the ways in which they are disciplined?
Well, they have several ways a person can be disciplined. And discipline depends on the offense. You have warnings. If you're going to do a warning, you may have a first, second, or third warning.
Okay.
After that, it will move to suspension, and that would be suspension without pay. And that after the suspension without pay, it's dismissal. Okay, there are cases where a person may be terminated rather than being dismissed. So those are ways that you'll discipline. First, you start with a verbal warning. And it depends on the gravity of the offense. Because some offenses, the first penalty is dismissal. Okay? If it's a severe matter, then the first penalty is dismissal.
Okay,
No more
and then
than
and then we move to termination if need be.
once we dismiss, that is it.
Okay.
Termination is if you're gonna, you pay for the services they would have
Okay.
completed. If you dismiss, you pay for what they would have earned during the
Okay.
period,
All right.
not severance. There is a difference between the severance pay, which is termination, and dismissal.
Okay. And something I also noticed from my short time at GWI, which I believe it's a good direction we're moving in. We've increased some of the allowances and some of the stipends that our workers get, as well as the conditions our sewage workers, for instance,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
allowances have been risen since actually under the direction of Dr. Van West Charles.
Yeah.
So
that is,
staff motivation, I believe,
Yeah, but that has increased since he's got there because there are certain things that they weren't given before, but they're now benefiting from the uniforms
right.
and the increased allowances.
And
that
this
they're
kind of
benefiting.
ties into the new perspective in terms of sanitation and sewage. One could very well have seen over the past years that that department probably seemed to occupy the role of more or less like the stepchild in the family.
They were overlooked.
Where, yes, and with the new direction now, and you mentioned Dr. Van West Charles and his motivation to make sure that sewage and sanitation should rise in prominence in terms of fulfilling our responsibilities and our mission. That yes, we start with understanding the employees, the role that they play, looking at the benefits that they should accrue, and then we move to the point of the prominence of the work that they do and making sure that they have the right tools. We look at the safety wear that they should have and so forth, training that they should receive, and then that gets tied into the whole question of expansion of sewage and sanitation. And again, in the strategic plan, we have a section where we have already developed plans for the expansion of sewage and sanitation, looking at water disposal, wastewater disposal. Right. Okay.
And that ties into recognizing our employees as valuable assets for the
Indeed.
company.
Right.
Because sometimes people don't feel that the people are important, but without the people,
Exactly.
we won't
The
go
equipment
any place.
can't work themselves.
Exactly.
Oh, you
Or-
don't want them to.
Kind of scary.
Yes.
I would like to thank you both for being on the program this evening. If there are any final words that you'd like to add, Mr. Mars?
Well, certainly. We look forward to cooperation with all our customers, and to this extent, we feel every person's a customer because water is life, and you need water. You need to use sewage and sanitation services. We're working with communities. We want to hear from persons in the communities what their needs are. We cherish the visits that we make to the communities, doing the outreach, and we want them to tell us what level of service they want, how satisfied or dissatisfied they are with the quality of water that they're getting. And this will allow us to expand and to satisfy their requirements.
Okay.
I just want to encourage persons that would have applied to GWI. So often the persons reach me and say, I sent an application, but I haven't received a response.
Right.
Just to let persons know that we would only respond to applications where we placed an advert in the papers. Those unsolicited applications, we will not respond. There are too many. We receive like 20 to 30 applications per day.
Wow.
So we really cannot respond to all of them.
And it's not necessarily that we have an opening for that
It's
position.
not necessary. They apply for any position. They're just, any vacancy that may
Right,
exist.
right.
So just want to let persons know that we won't respond to those applications, but we keep them
On file, right?
on files. In the event that we need a particular position, we go back and say, well, this person's qualified. We call them. If they're still interested,
Right.
then we have them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again, Ms. Doris, Human Resources Director at GWI, and Mr. Lance Mars, the head of our Strategic Planning Unit. But I just want to remind our viewers that there will be a maintenance of the Shelter Belt storage facility, and so you can expect reduced service during this week. That is from May 15 to May 19, Friday. But GWI is pleading with you, to conserve on water, especially during this period. Conservation is always a must, but especially during this period. And of course, this would only be done, the reduced service will only be experienced during off-peak hours, and that is like during the day when persons are at work and so forth. So back in the evening when you're at home, everything should be back to normal, and this again is due to maintenance of the shelter belt storage facility. We also want to remind you that disconnection services campaigns rather are ongoing countrywide, so we want to encourage you to go into any GWI office near you. Ensure that you make GWI's bill a priority. You want to avoid disconnection. So in case you might have seen in the papers and a number of areas listed and you didn't not see your area, that doesn't mean that we are not coming to your area. So you need to make GWI a priority. Some of our other payment agencies are Bill Express, SurePay. We have GBTI, Citizens Bank, Republic Bank, Scotia Bank, GTT Mobile Money. So you can take advantage of these many options. I also want to remind you that for updates, you can follow us on social media. Just look for Guyana Water Incorporated on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My name is Leanna Bradshaw, and you've been watching GWI's Customer Alert. Thanks for watching.
Hey GWI? Yes. Man, the damn toilet overflowing again, man. And I flush with some newspaper. What do you mean I can't flush newspaper down the toilet? The newspaper car's in the backup?
Don't be in this position. The government of Guyana has invested in excess of $6.5 million to rehabilitate the sanitation system in Georgetown. But you must do your part. All businesses involved in food preparation must install grease traps. Residents must desist from flushing plastics, newspapers, cloth, or any other solid material via toilets. The system was made to accommodate human waste only. Desist from flushing condoms via toilets. Dispose of these in a garbage bin. Do not remove or tamper with the chamber covers. Do not dump garbage, construction waste, or any material via sewer chambers.
You mean I can't even